All right, guys. So we're broadcasting now. So back to here we are in Illustrator. Let me just kind of give some background of what we're doing because I wasn't recording this, and then now I am recording this because you guys want me to. Right, Victoria? So it's yay! Anyway, this is a good kind of when it comes to the software type demo, that's probably a good thing for me to do in the WEB200 class as well when we're doing software demos. When I'm doing design and sketching on the board, not really that great to record. But here, what I have on the screen right now is the wireframe document for the Jet City Improv website that I did. What's up, Andrew McMasters? He's from shout out, right? And John, don't forget about John, he's the marketing guy, John Axel. So I worked with them on this website. So when we did the wireframes, I put into my contract that I could use this stuff in class as training materials, right? So they can't get mad at me. But what I have here is pretty much 960 grid layouts of a wireframe that I did in Illustrator. Now this wireframe is stylized. I like to use felt tip Roman as my typeface. You can see here when it comes to the text on this page right here, I'm using the similar concepts that I did in the typography class where this is all one text block, right? Sometimes it's not really feasible to do it all as one text block when you're doing this complicated wireframes. For instance, if right now I am on the destination show page, so you can see I'm turning on and off that layer. If I were to go to the home layer, right, and turn on and off that layer, you can see here that these that are selected are basically groups, right, that then I've sort of duplicated down the page as the UI, okay? But the question then becomes, great, I see how you put this together. You have a little more background. Let's say if I turn on the home layer, if I turn on the gateway layer or the destination layer, you can see that each one of those is on its own layer, as well as the header is on its own layer, as well as, if I scroll down here, the footer is on its own layer, as well as the skyline graphic that I bought that Alan and Bree are probably going to reuse because they like it, right? That's right, okay? So what if we wanted to create a new wireframe document, okay? So, file, new. That was tough right there, okay? Profile, let's pick web. And let's say size 1280 by 800 to start out with. Again, we want to go, if we're doing 960 grid layouts, we are going to want to do past 960 so we deal with the dead area when it comes to doing our visual designs. Okay, like if we have the skyline that goes out, if we have a blue background, etc., if we have a pattern background, whatever. We want to show in our visual designs what happens there. So 1280 by 800. If we choose that, here's what's going to happen. We are then going to have a page that is horizontal for landscape. So what's going to happen is down here, we're not going to be able to show what's below the fold. Okay, so let's delete that one and start again. File, new, 1280 by what? Probably at least 1500. Let's say 1500 just for this demo, right? So if I say then, or let's do 1700, right? So if we do 1700, and we say, okay, here we then have a document that is significantly longer than it is wide. If I go back to my Jet City one over here, and I click on the Artboard tool, it is going to tell me that my width is 1280 and my height, take a look at that, 2500, right? Because we want to have a significant amount of content. Again, if we go to the real live Jet City website that Janelle totally loves,
It's my favorite.
it's your favorite.
I dream about it.
You dream it, yeah, so do I. Trust me, right? If we are, let's kind of come down in size a little bit, right? We have a significant amount of content below the fold, right? So if we go back to Illustrator, I'm going to say OK here. Now let's say we go to our new untitled. First and foremost, let's save it as something. Save as. Wireframe 3, why not? Wireframe 3 sounds great to me. Okay, so again, I have a document that is 1280 by something or other. Okay, let's do this. Let's go back to our Artboard tool, click on it. If we click on it once, we can freeform, right, and grab it. If we double click on it, it is going to give us the dialog box that I am going to say 2500. And we say OK. So now I have a document that is 1280 wide by 2500 tall. This tool right here, the Artboard tool. Double click on that. It will show you what your, and here's me learning how to give presentations on Google Hangouts versus in class, instead of doing this for you, blah, 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 right? Because when I watch the video back, I have no idea what I'm pointing at here. Who's experienced that online, right? So if I do this then, width, height, then when I'm watching it back, I know I'm talking about width and height. So, okay. Going back here, what we first need to do is take a look at our layers palette. And right now, we have one layer. Okay? Let's name that layer. What are we going to name that layer? First, we have to figure out, yeah, who said it? Yeah. So I'm going to start my grids. Okay, so I want to put my grids on a layer. Right? So I can say grids and guides. Because basically what we're going to be doing is we are going to be making our grid system into guides. So I'm going to turn this here so we can see. Let's actually do this. Move this on the screen. Okay, so now I want to make my grids. So if I go back to the 960 grid system, here's what I want to do. First of all, I have way too many tabs open like normal. Closing tabs on video. It's awesome. There it is, 960. Okay. So if I'm here on the 960 grid system, right, taking a look at this, if I hover over this, right, 940. Okay, 12 columns that are 60 pixel columns. This gutter right in here is 20 pixels. This margin out there is 10. This margin out there is 10. I like to have it 20. So assume we're going to make two boxes. One outer box, this outer box, and another inner box for our columns. Okay. I want to go back to Illustrator and I want to select on the rectangle tool. If I select on the rectangle tool and hit the artboard, it is going to ask me, what do I want to make the width?
90.
980. For now,
No, why not 960 again? I'm sorry.
because I have 20 pixels on the outside versus 10. Okay. Height. For now, I'm just going to say 1200 because I want to make a demo that I can see it on the screen. Then I'll show you guys how to modify the height later. Okay. So I'm going to do this on purpose. So this 1200 pixels here is just an arbitrary number that means absolutely nothing. But when I do that, I now have a rectangle
Do you want it to have
that I can put wherever I want to put it here.
no color in it, or you want it white?
Doesn't matter. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to align this. If I go to Window, Align, I will bring up the Align palette. So here's what I want to do. Show Options, Align to Artboard. Now I'm going to align this to the center of the artboard for the time being. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, with this selected to align to artboard, I'm going to hit horizontal align center.
How did you get to the align to artboard?
Window, align. Okay.
You have that open.
Options.
Okay, got
Show options.
Got it.
Okay. I'm also then going to, whoops, this button right here that if I hover over, it says vertical align center. Vertical align center is going to do exactly what it says. Vertically align at center. Okay. So here's what I want to do. Select that. View. Guides. Make guides. Okay. So what we're doing is we're taking an actual object and making it into guides that are on its own layer that I can turn on and turn off, and that I can also lock at will. What? So if I go back, Command Z, all right, and I have this selected, View, Guides, Make guides. Okay. So if I do that, then I have this box here that is now locked by default. Okay. When we make guides, if I want to unlock those guides, lock guides or unlock guides. So if I unlock them, now I can select it. Okay. So what I want to do with this now is make an inner box. So what did I make this one? 1280 by window. Is it info? 1280 by 1200. Okay. So I want to make a box that is 20 pixels smaller all the way around. So those of us in the web world, we can say 20 pixels of padding all the way around. Make sense? Yeah. So Levi, what's the size of my next box that I want to make?
940 by 1160.
You are correct, sir. Again, with this, it's just put there willy-nilly, right? Or put there Willie Nelson, whatever you want to say, right?
940 by 40.
Mike, sorry, can you go back to after the unlock the guides, did you select the box?
So if I'm here and I want to lock or unlock those guides, is that the question?
No, what would you do from there?
Oh, from here, I went to Rectangle Tool, because again, I want to put something in the inside here that has columns. Rectangle Tool, click there, 940, 1160. Okay. Then again, it's kind of Willie Nelson over to the side. It's my new way of saying that now, right? Because Willie Nelson is all like, woo, you know, right? So it's appropriate. So I can align objects, horizontal align center. Align objects, vertical align center. Again, I have the align to artboard turned on. So now this box is sitting. The Align tool should be one of your most favorite tools ever.
I'm sorry, how are we aligning
Yeah,
this
we
one?
can never get the.
Well, that's the beauty of this being on video now. You can watch this back over and over and over and over again.
So do
Right?
something stupid. So
What? I can't hear you.
So do something stupid.
What?
Do something.
Do something stupid?
So we're gonna watch over.
Okay, yeah. I prefer just to do what we're supposed to. Okay, Julie, yeah.
What's the difference between just leaving it as a rectangle and making it a guide?
Well, we are going to use, let's put it this way. These guides that sit back in the back, let me show it to you when we get there, right? Because basically what we're doing is these guides as being blue, that's a good question. How do I say it? They're not live objects anymore. They're guides that we can use to put our cursor on and snap to, etc. Have you ever made guides in Photoshop? Okay. Exactly the same as guides in Photoshop. Except in Illustrator, we can actually make guides that were objects. So if I wanted to, I could do this. I could choose a star tool and make a star, 5-pointed star, and they always come in upside down, and you have to really wonder what that means. Have you ever done a star in Illustrator, 5-pointed star, and it comes in like the devil here? Anyhow, I could select that, view, guides, make guides. So now that object is a guide, right, that I could use to align stuff to. So here's what I have. Now here comes the real important part, okay? So I have my box that is 940 pixels wide. Now I need to break it into columns. I have to credit a former student of mine who found this application, okay? I can't remember what the former student's name is, unfortunately.
We're not locking
But
that inner.
not yet, because we still have ways to go.
Okay.
Object, path, split into grid. That looks interesting. Let's see what that does. So it says, how many rows? How many rows, Levi? 1. Columns, how many columns? 12. So if I put 12 in there,
Oh, that's over here.
and I say 20 pixel gutter, it is now showing me I have 12 columns. Each column has a width of 60 pixels. So I have 12 columns, highlighting for the video viewers. Width 60 pixels, gutter 20 pixels, total 940. I say okay. It has now just split that object into those 12 columns. Okay? So, yeah.
Sorry, is that the split into grid? Is that what
Split into grid, yes. Okay. Now, this is where these columns, I want to select all of them. View, guides, make guides. Okay. So now that I've made these into guides, let's see what this looks like. So I have my inner and my outer sitting there in the middle of my document. Well, if I wanted to, let's make sure that the guides are unlocked. So there's no check mark next to lock guides. So I could do this. I can, with my white direct selection tool, select all the top anchor points,
You want them all
blow
locked,
this
though,
up
right?
a little bit. What?
You do want them all locked, or you want to unlock them?
We haven't locked them yet. We want them all unlocked right now.
All the guys.
Yes. Okay, so all the guides should be unlocked so we can select them, right? Then I can move these up. Show it to you again. So if I have these guides that are all unlocked, and again, if you want to see where unlock guides is, view, guides. If my guides were locked like that, I couldn't select them, right? If view, guides are unlocked, I can select them now. So with the direct white selection tool, I want to select all these anchor points up top here. select, shift, drag them up. Go down to the bottom. Select, shift, drag them down. Okay. So I'm going to save this. And now I can do one of two things, right? So I can either lock these guides, lock them all, which is a good idea, or I can just lock this layer, okay? Now what I want to do is I want to start making my wireframes, right? So if I draw a new layer, create a new layer, and name this header, right? This is where then, if I go back to my rectangle tool, and Julie, this is the beautiful thing about these guides, right? Because now I can click, select, snap to those guides, and then draw, let's say, a navigation box or my header box, right? And put my header box snapped right. See how it's kind of, you don't see the paths, they're right over top of the guides right there. Does that make sense? Okay. I can also then, with my info palette, see that that box is a width of 980 and a height of 308. Let's say I want to transform that box to be 250 pixels tall. Now it's 250 pixels tall, but let me open the transform palette. Transform, right? So here's the transform palette. And I'm going to Command Z. So if I select this, let's take a look. Does anybody know what this reference point thing here means? Okay. What was that, Alan?
Where the dot is?
Yeah. So if I leave that reference point to the center, watch this box how it's going to redraw itself. So if I say 250, it's going to redraw itself from that center point there. Okay? If I Command Z that and I change the reference point to the top, because I have the top already aligned on there and I just want to make it shorter, if I reference that, put it there, and then I say 200, it's going to draw it 200 from the top. 250, right? So now I have my header elements. If I turn the grids layer off, then we can see I have my header element sitting there. If I turn the grids back on, let's say I wanted a photo or a logo that extended right over 3 columns, right? So 3 columns should be what, 200 pixels wide? I drew that box kind of half-assed.
Can we send the columns to the back so you can see your stuff? Is there a way to do that? Like
It is on the back right now.
Because we can't.
This layer is on the back.
No. I mean, if you send the whole grid object back, then all your boxes will show up on the top.
It is in the back. This is in the back. See how this is up top and this is here? In other words, if I gave that a fill, right? Grids, because they're grids, you'll still see through them,
Okay.
right? If those were just objects, you wouldn't.
Okay.
Grids will always come to the forefront like that. Yes, because you're using them as guides.
Because what bothers me, what messes with my kind of orientation is that the grid, so you have your red box, but you still see the grid over the top of the line of the red box.
Because you're using those as guides. So you need to see those guides.
No, not that part. Okay.
The blue,
Mhm.
the blue,
Mhm.
yeah. They're guides now, they're not objects. So you're gonna see them through all planes of the universe. So you can use them to snap to.
I understand that. I'm just saying, you see how the bottom line of the red box, it goes all the way to the out, and then the top one does not. It's behind the box,
Because,
behind the grid. But that one is on top of the grid. So I
Because
like
it's
the
on
fact that
mine,
it's on
grid.
top.
Because it's not aligned to that top there.
Okay.
It's not
You have to
This
push
one is over top of the grid, so you don't see it because it's snapped to the grid. Just go with it. Okay. So if I now said width 220, right? Height, let's say 200, right? We can start making really precise. Now this might be, yeah, there we go. We can start making really precise objects in space like that, right? So, yeah, what you're seeing in Illustrator is sometimes there's a discrepancy a little bit.
Mhm.
Those guides are a little, because it's a pixel. So how do you put a pixel?
Mhm.
Just like I
So
said,
you
just
don't
go
care
with it.
about that, though. You're okay with that?
Just, yeah, it's
Okay.
normal, just go with it. Okay. So now if I wanted to then say, go and take some of these form elements, right? Because let's say I had a, I don't know, up in the top, I had a search box, or let's do this. Let's say I had a select field up in the top. I could copy that. I could go to my wireframe. I could now go to the header layer, and I could put this right there and align it how I wanted to. So on and so forth, one way, shape, or form, then I would build my Illustrator file. So what I did there was Control or Command on a Mac, semicolon will turn the grids visible or not. So what I can basically do is over top of this grid system, start building my wireframe system until it ends up looking like this. Okay? That concludes our making grids in Illustrator video. Thank you for watching, Vicki.
Where we can find the video?
So let me shut it down. Stop broadcast.